Admiral Al stood at the window of his command ship and watched another world burn. The planet below had been home to 3 billion just 6 hours ago. Now it was nothing but fire and smoke. The Dominion had come, and they had done what they always did. They consumed everything. 47 years, that is how long the Galactic Coalition had been fighting this war. 12 species had joined together to stop and 12 species had failed. The enemy was too strong, too cruel, and too hungry. They did not want land or resources. They wanted flesh. They ate their enemies and they enjoyed it. Al turned away from the window. His pale blue skin looked gray now, aged by decades of defeat. His 4 eyes were tired. He had seen too much death. "Admiral," said a young officer, "the council is ready for you." Al nodded and walked to the meeting chamber. The holographic images of 11 other leaders waited for him. They represented every species in the coalition. All of them looked just as tired as he felt. "We have lost Al said. "Their fleet is destroyed. The survivors are fleeing to our territory." "How many survivors?" asked Council Leader, an ancient being with silver scales. "Perhaps 2 million, out of 3 billion. Silence filled the chamber. 2 million was not a victory, it was a tragedy. "They are moving toward the system next," Al continued. 19 billion people live on those 3 worlds. We do not have enough ships to stop them. "Then we must evacuate," said another council member. "There is no time. They will arrive in 2 days. More silence. Everyone knew what this meant. 19 billion people would die. They would be eaten alive by monsters who felt no mercy. "There is one option we have not tried," said Ambassador. She was young for a diplomat with bright green skin and large golden eyes. "The humans." The room erupted in noise. Everyone spoke at once. "The humans are savages," said one leader. "They are violent and unpredictable," said another. "They nearly destroyed their own planet with wars." "Enough," said, raising a hand. The room went quiet. "Ambassador, explain yourself." Stood, "We have avoided the humans for 300 years because we feared them. We watched them fight each other in terrible wars. We saw them build weapons that could crack planets. We decided they were too dangerous to contact." "And you believe this has changed?" asked. "No," admitted. "I believe they are still dangerous, but they are dangerous in a way that might save us. The humans have stopped fighting each other. They have united under one government. They have built a fleet, though they hide its true size, and they have something we do not have." "What is that?" "They have never lost a war they truly wanted to win." Al felt something strange in his chest. It took him a moment to recognize it. Hope. He had not felt hope in many years. "The humans are unpredictable," Al said slowly, "but they are certain death. I say we contact them." The vote was close, but it passed. Ambassador would travel to Earth and ask humanity for help. The journey took 3 days. Spent most of it reading about human history. What she found terrified her. These beings had invented weapons of mass destruction before they invented medicine to cure simple diseases. They had fought 2 global wars in a single century. They had committed terrible acts against their own kind. But she also found something else. She found stories of humans running into fire to save strangers. She found records of humans sacrificing themselves for people they had never met. She found a species that was capable of great evil and great good, often at the same time. Her ship entered the Sol system and was immediately surrounded by human vessels. They were smaller than coalition ships, but moved faster than anything had ever seen. "Unknown vessel, identify yourself," came a voice over the communication system. "I am ambassador of the Galactic Coalition. I come with a request for help." There was a pause, then a different voice spoke. It was calm and steady. "Ambassador, this is Commander Jack of the USS Horizon. Please follow us to the station. We will hear your request." The station orbited Earth's moon. It was massive, larger than any structure had seen in space. Humans moved through its corridors with purpose and energy. They walked faster than other species. They talked louder. Everything about them seemed intense. Commander met her at the docking bay. He was tall for a human with dark skin and kind eyes, but noticed something else in those eyes, something hard. This was a man who had seen battle. "Ambassador," he said, shaking her hand in the human fashion. "Welcome to Luna Station. Please tell us why you have come." Was taken to a meeting room where several human officers waited. She recognized their ranks from her research. There were generals and admirals, captains and commanders, the highest levels of human military leadership. She told them everything: the 47 years of war, the hundreds of destroyed worlds, the billions of dead, the who ate their enemies alive, and the 19 billion people who would die in 2 days if no one helped them. The humans listened in silence. Their faces showed no emotion, but saw their hands. Some were clenched into fists. Some were gripping the table so hard their knuckles turned white. When she finished, Commander leaned forward. "These," he said, "do they take prisoners?" "No," replied. "They consume everyone they capture, men, women, children, they keep none alive." Looked at the woman beside him. She wore the uniform of a fleet captain. Her name tag read Moore. Captain Moore said, "How long do we need?" Lisa Moore checked her tablet and did some quick calculations. 6 hours to assemble the first fleet. 8 hours if we want the Marine divisions. "Make it 6. We can pick up the Marines on the way." Turned back to, "Ambassador, we will help you." Felt tears forming in her eyes. Thank you so much. When can we expect your fleet to be ready?" "In a few months." Smiled, but there was no humor in it. "Ambassador, you misunderstand. We will be ready in 6 hours. We will arrive at the system before the due." Stared at him. 6 hours. She had expected months of preparation, years of planning. That is how the coalition did things. "How is that possible?" she whispered. "Because we have been waiting for something like this," said. "We have been watching the galaxy for a long time, Ambassador. We knew what they were. We have been preparing." "Preparing for what?" Stood and looked out the window at Earth below. The blue planet glowed in the darkness of space. Billions of humans lived down there. Billions of people who had learned, through centuries of blood and pain, how to fight. "Preparing for war," he said. "The kind of war where losing is not an option." 6 hours later, the human fleet launched. 40 ships moved through space faster than anything the galaxy had ever seen. Ambassador watched from the horizon's bridge, her heart pounding with fear and hope. She had asked monsters for help. Now she would see if those monsters would save her people or doom them all. The Armada was a nightmare made real. 3,000 warships moved through space like a swarm of hungry insects. Each ship was covered in black armor that seemed to absorb light itself. Each ship carried weapons that could turn cities to ash in seconds. High Commander Hal stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Devourer. He was massive, even by standards. His body was covered in thick gray scales, and his mouth was filled with rows of sharp teeth. Those teeth had tasted the flesh of 100 different species. Soon, they would taste more. "How long until we reach the system?" he asked. 4 hours, High Commander, replied his subordinate. "Good, prepare the feeding ships. 19 billion prey await us." Hal smiled, which was a terrible thing to see. They did not fight for territory or power. They fought because they were hungry. They consumed other species not just for food but for pleasure. The fear of their victims made the meat taste. Admiral Al watched the fleet from a safe distance. His coalition ships were hiding behind a small moon, cloaked and silent. They could not fight. They could only watch and wait for the end. "The humans should arrive soon," said Ambassador, who had returned to the coalition command ship. "If they come at all," Al replied. He wanted to believe, but 47 years of defeat had taught him not to hope. "They will come. I saw their eyes, Admiral. When I told them about the children being eaten alive, something changed in them, something dangerous. Al did not respond. He simply watched the endless swarm of ships and wondered how anyone could stop them. Then the sensors screamed. "Contact!" shouted an officer. Multiple ships dropping out of faster-than-light travel. Al rushed to the display screen. He saw the human fleet appear in space like ghosts materializing from nothing. One moment there was empty void. The next moment, ships were there. He counted them, 10, 20, 30, 40. 40 ships. His heart sank. That is all, 40 ships against 3,000. Ambassador stared at the display with wide eyes. That cannot be right. They said they were sending a fleet. The communication system crackled to life. A human voice spoke, calm and professional. "Coalition vessels, this is Captain Lisa Moore of the USS Horizon. We have arrived as promised. Please maintain your position and observe. Do not interfere with our operations." "Captain Moore," Al responded, "we appreciate your help, but your fleet is vastly outnumbered. They have 3,000 ships." "We are aware of the numbers, Admiral." "Then you know this is suicide." There was a pause. When Moore spoke again, Al could hear a smile in her voice. "Admiral, please trust us. We know what we are doing." They had noticed the human ships now. High Commander Hal stared at the tiny fleet with amusement. His officers were laughing. 40 ships against his armada. This was not a battle. This was a joke. "Open a channel to these newcomers," Hal ordered. The communication connected. Hal saw the human captain on his screen. She was small and soft like all mammals, easy prey. "Attention, unknown vessels," Hal said. "I am High Commander Hal of the Dominion. You have entered a war zone. Surrender now and I will make your deaths quick. Resist, and we will eat you slowly while you still breathe." The human captain showed no fear. She simply tilted her head and looked at him like he was a strange insect. "High Commander," she said, "I am Captain Lisa Moore of the Terran Fleet. You have attacked species under our protection. You have consumed innocent civilians, including children. I am giving you one chance to surrender. If you refuse, we will destroy you." Hal laughed so hard his whole body shook. His officers joined him. The bridge of the Devourer filled with the sound of amusement. "Destroy us," Hal finally managed to say. "Little mammal, you have 40 ships. I have 3,000. Your species will make a fine addition to our food supply." Moore's expression did not change. "You were warned." She ended the communication. Hal was still laughing when his tactical officer spoke. "High Commander, the human ships are doing something strange. They are not charging weapons. They are broadcasting some kind of signal." "A signal? What kind of signal?" "I do not know. It is very complex. Our systems are trying to analyze it, but the frequency keeps changing." On the Coalition command ship, Admiral Al watched with confusion. The human ships were not firing. They were not moving into attack formation. They were just sitting there, broadcasting something into space. "What are they doing?" he asked. "I have no idea," replied. Dr. Amy sat at her station on the horizon, her fingers flying across her keyboard. She was not a soldier. She was a scientist. But right now, she was the most dangerous person in this system. "Frequency locked," she said. "All vessels are using the same command network, just like we predicted. They never fought anyone smart enough to target it before." Commander Jack stood beside her. "Are you sure this will work?" The net worked all their ships together for efficiency. Every vessel receives commands from the flagship through a central frequency. If we overwhelm that frequency with corrupted data, Amy smiled, their entire fleet becomes very expensive floating garbage. "Do it." Amy pressed a single button. The effect was instant. Across the Armada, 3,000 ships went dark at the same moment. Lights flickered and died. Engines stopped firing. Weapons powered down. Shields collapsed. On the Devourer, High Commander Hal stopped laughing. The bridge was suddenly dark except for emergency lights. Every screen showed the same message: system failure. "What is happening?" he screamed. No one could answer him. Their communication systems were dead. Their computers were dead. Everything was dead. Admiral Al stared at his display in disbelief. The entire fleet was drifting lifelessly through space. 3,000 warships, helpless in an instant. "That is impossible," he whispered. "That is absolutely impossible." Captain Moore's voice came through the communication system again. "Admiral Al, the fleet has been disabled. They have no weapons, no shields, and no engines. Phase 1 is complete." "Phase 1, Al's voice cracked. "There is more." "Of course, we have not finished yet. The enemy is disabled but not defeated. It is time for Phase 2. On the Horizon's main deck, hundreds of human Marines were loading into. They wore heavy armor and carried weapons designed for close combat. Their faces were hard and focused. Sergeant Kate Riley checked her rifle one last time. She was a small woman with short brown hair and calm gray eyes. She had fought in 3 different conflicts on Earth before joining the Space Marines. She knew how to kill. "Listen up," she told her squad. "These like to eat people, women, children, everyone. Today we are going to teach them what happens when they try to eat humans. Any questions?" None of her soldiers spoke. They did not need to. They knew the mission. "Good," Kate said. "Let's go hunting." They launched from the Horizon, carrying thousands of Marines toward the helpless fleet. They moved like predators closing in on wounded prey. Admiral Al watched them go and felt something he had never felt before when looking at another species. He felt afraid. Not afraid of the humans. Afraid of what they might do to an enemy that had dared to threaten innocent lives. The war had been going on for 47 years. The humans had been involved for less than 1 hour, and already everything had changed. The shook as it approached the flagship. Inside, Sergeant Kate Riley and her squad sat in darkness, their weapons ready. The only sound was their breathing and the hum of the engines. 30 seconds to contact," said Lieutenant Ben Torres over the speaker. He was flying with steady hands. "The Devourer's hull is thick, but I found a weak point near the cargo bay. We will cut through there." "Copy that," Kate replied. She looked at her squad, 12 Marines, all of them veterans. Corporal Danny Vega sat across from her, checking his explosive charges for the 5th time. He was young but experienced. He could blow up anything. "Remember your training," Kate said. "They are big and strong, but they have never faced ground combat. They bomb planets from orbit. They have never fought enemies face to face. They have no idea what is coming." They slammed against the hull. The sound of cutting lasers filled the air. In seconds, a hole opened in the enemy ship and atmosphere rushed out. The Marines jumped through, their magnetic boots keeping them attached to the floor. The inside of the Devourer was dark and cold. Emergency lights cast red shadows on the walls. Kate could hear moving somewhere in the distance. They sounded confused and angry. "Vega, you know your target," Kate said. "Main reactor, Deck 7. Set the charges but do not blow anything until I give the word." "Understood, Sergeant." "Everyone else, we are heading for the bridge. We are taking their commander alive." They moved through the ship like ghosts. The they encountered were unprepared for what they found. The aliens were large, nearly 3 meters tall, with powerful arms and sharp teeth. But they had no training for this kind of fight. The first they met came around a corner carrying a tool, not a weapon. It stared at the humans with surprise. Kate shot it twice in the chest before it could react. The creature fell without a sound. "Contacts ahead," whispered one of her Marines. 6 targets armed with hand weapons. "Take them." The humans moved in perfect coordination. They had trained for years for exactly this moment. They never stood a chance. In 10 seconds, all 6 were dead. On the Coalition command ship, Admiral Al watched the assault through drone cameras. His 4 eyes were wide with shock. He had never seen anything like this. "They are so fast," he said, "so precise. They move through the enemy ship like they own it." Ambassador nodded. "The humans have been fighting each other for thousands of years. They have perfected the art of war. Ground combat, ship combat, air combat, they have done it all. But they are so much larger. Size does not matter when your enemy knows exactly where to strike." On the screen, they watched a human marine dodge an attack and slide beneath the creature's guard. The marine's knife found a gap in the alien scales. The fell, and the marine was already moving to the next target. "This is not a battle," Al said quietly. "This is a hunt." Kate's squad reached the bridge in less than 20 minutes. The doors were sealed, but that did not stop them. Danny had left explosive experts with her before heading to the reactor. They placed charges on the door and stepped back. The explosion was small but precise. The doors flew inward. Kate was the first one through. High Commander Hal stood in the center of his bridge, surrounded by his officers. They had armed themselves with whatever they could find. Hal held a ceremonial blade that had killed hundreds of prisoners. "You dare enter my ship," Hal roared. "I will eat your hearts while you watch." Kate did not respond with words. She simply raised her rifle. The fight lasted less than a minute. They were strong, but strength meant nothing against human tactics. Kate's squad moved through the bridge like a machine, each marine covering the others. They used their small size to their advantage, dodging beneath strikes and hitting the weak points in their armor. When it was over, every officer was dead except one. Hal lay on the floor with 3 Marines pointing rifles at his head. He was wounded but alive. "Why?" he gasped. "Why did you not just destroy us from space? Why did you board our ships?" Kate knelt beside him. Her face was calm, almost peaceful. "Because dead enemies cannot deliver messages. You are going to tell your people what happened here today." "Sergeant," Danny's voice came through her communicator. "Charges are set on the reactor, ready on your command. Hold position, Vega. We are taking this one with us." Across the fleet, similar scenes were playing out. Human Marines boarded ship after ship, taking them with brutal efficiency. They tried to fight back, but they did not know how. They were predators who had never been prey. They had never faced an enemy that was faster, smarter, and more ruthless than themselves. Commander Jack watched the assault from the Horizon's bridge. Reports came in every few seconds. Ship captured, ship secured, enemy commander detained. "How many ships have we taken?" Captain Moore asked. 2,412, replied. "The remaining ships are being disabled permanently. Their reactors will be destroyed." "Casualties?" 17 wounded, 0 dead. Moore nodded. 0 human deaths against 3,000 enemy ships. That was the kind of ratio that would make history. "And the enemy commanders?" "We have 47 high-ranking officers in custody, including their high commander." "Good, bring him to me." Admiral Al could not believe what he was seeing. The battle, if it could even be called that, had lasted less than 2 hours. The greatest armada ever assembled had been completely destroyed by 40 human ships. "How is this possible?" he asked for the 100th time. Ambassador was crying. Tears of relief ran down her green face. "The humans were not exaggerating, Admiral. They really did prepare for this. They studied they found their weaknesses, and they built a military specifically designed to exploit them. But the Coalition has been fighting for 47 years. We never found these weaknesses. The Coalition was trying to survive. The humans were trying to win. There is a difference." Kate Riley dragged Hal through the corridors of his own ship. The once proud commander was silent now. The arrogance was gone from his eyes. He had seen his entire fleet defeated by creatures half his size. "What will you do with me?" he finally asked. "That is not my decision," Kate said. "But if I had to guess, you are going to help us send a message to your..." My people will never surrender. The Dominion has a fleet of 50,000 ships. We will come back with more forces than you can imagine." Kate stopped walking. She looked at the massive alien with something that might have been pity. "Good," she said. "We were hoping you would say that." They carried them back to the horizon. Behind them, the fleet drifted dead in space. 2,000 ships had been captured. The rest had been destroyed. The war that had lasted 47 years had just changed completely in less than 2 hours. And the humans were not finished yet. The interrogation room on the horizon was small and cold. High Commander Hal sat in a chair that was too small for his body. His wounds had been treated, but he was still weak. Chains bound his arms and legs to the floor. Commander Jack sat across from him, studying the alien with calm eyes. A translator device sat on the table between them, turning every word into perfect. "Your fleet has been destroyed," said. 2,000 ships captured, 1,000 destroyed. Your crews are either dead or in our custody." Hal said nothing. His red eyes stared at the human with hatred. "I want to understand something," continued. "Your species has been attacking the Coalition for 47 years. You have killed billions, eaten them alive. Why?" "Because we are hungry," Hal replied. "Because your flesh is sweet and your fear makes it. Because we are the top of the food chain and you are prey." "The top of the food chain," repeated slowly. "Interesting. Tell me, High Commander, do you know what humans ate before we traveled to the stars?" Hal did not answer. "Everything," said. "We ate every animal on our planet. We hunted the largest creatures to extinction. We killed predators that were 10 times our size. And when we ran out of animals to hunt, we hunted each other." He leaned forward. "You think you are predators. You have no idea what a real predator looks like." Hal felt something cold in his stomach. It took him a moment to recognize the feeling. Fear. He had never felt fear before. "Your threats mean nothing," he forced himself to say. "The Dominion will send 50,000 ships to avenge this defeat. You cannot stop them all." 50,000 ships, said. "That is what I wanted to talk about. You see, High Commander, we need you to send a message to your... I will never betray my people." "You misunderstand. We want you to tell them exactly what happened here. We want them to know that 40 human ships destroyed 3,000 vessels in less than 2 hours. We want them to be angry. We want them to come." Hal stared at the human. "You want them to attack? Are you insane?" "Perhaps, but here is something you should know." Stood up and walked to a screen on the wall. He pressed a button and an image appeared. It showed space filled with ships. Not 40 ships, not 400. Thousands upon thousands of human warships arranged in perfect formation. "The 40 ships we sent today were a scouting party," said. "We wanted to test your defenses. We wanted to see how your technology worked. Now we know." Hal's eyes went wide. "That is impossible. No species could hide a fleet that size." "We have been preparing for a long time, High Commander. We watched the galaxy for 300 years. We knew what you were. We built our fleet in secret, waiting for the right moment to reveal ourselves." Why would you do this?" Turned to face him, his expression was hard. "Because you eat children, Hal. You consume innocent beings who cannot defend themselves. You enjoy their fear, you laugh as they scream." His voice dropped to a whisper. "Humanity has done terrible things in our history. We have killed each other for foolish reasons, but we have one rule that we never break. We protect the innocent, especially the children." The door opened and Captain Lisa Moore walked in. She looked at Hal with cold eyes. "Is he ready to cooperate?" she asked. "I think so," replied. "He understands the situation now." Moore nodded. "Good. We are going to broadcast a message to the using your communication codes. You are going to appear in that message and tell your people what happened here. And if I refuse, then we will destroy the 50,000 ships when they arrive, and we will come to your anyway. The message is not for your benefit, High Commander. It is a warning. A chance for your people to surrender before more of them die. Hal lowered his head. For the first time in his long life, he had met something stronger than himself. Not just stronger, smarter, more ruthless, more determined. "I will deliver your message," he said quietly. The broadcast went out an hour later. Every in the Dominion saw their high commander, wounded and chained, speaking from a human ship. They saw images of their destroyed fleet. They heard the human terms. "Surrender unconditionally," the message said. "Release all prisoners. Stop all attacks. If you refuse, we will come for you." The response came within minutes. It was not surrender, it was rage. "You think you can threaten the Dominion?" the Supreme Leader screamed from his throne room. "We will send every ship we have. We will consume your entire species. We will make your home planet into a feeding ground." The transmission ended. The humans had their answer. Admiral Al watched the exchange from his command ship. He had moved closer now, no longer afraid of the fleet that no longer existed. He found himself standing next to Commander on the horizon's bridge. "They are sending everything," Al said. 50,000 ships. Your fleet in those images, is it real?" "Nodded, very real, but we will not need all of it." "How can you be so confident? Even with your electronic warfare, 50,000 ships is an enormous force." Captain Moore answered, "Our electronic attack will not work twice. They are not stupid. They will adapt their systems." Al felt his hope fade. "Then what is your plan?" "The electronic attack was never our main weapon," explained. "It was a tool, a way to make them cluster their ships together." "Cluster them together? Why?" And Moore exchanged a look. Something passed between them that Al did not understand. Something dark. "Admiral," Moore said slowly, "what do you know about gravitational weapons?" Al's blood went cold. "Gravitational weapons are forbidden. The Coalition banned them centuries ago. They are too destructive, too dangerous." "Yes," agreed. "They are. That is why we hope never to use them, but they have given us no choice." "What kind of gravitational weapon?" Moore pulled up a display. It showed a technical diagram that Al did not fully understand, but he understood enough. "We call it the Nova Lance," she said. "It creates a temporary gravitational singularity, a very small black hole that exists for approximately 3 seconds. 3 seconds is enough to destroy a planet," Al whispered. "Yes, or a fleet that is clustered too closely together." Al stepped back from the display. He looked at the humans around him with new eyes. These were not just warriors. These were beings who had built weapons capable of ending worlds, and they had kept those weapons hidden while the Coalition suffered and died. "You could have ended this war years ago," he said. "Why did you wait?" His expression softened slightly. "Because weapons like the Nova Lance should never be used. Because we hoped the Coalition would win on its own. Because we wanted to believe the galaxy did not need us. And now 19 billion innocent people are about to be eaten alive. Now children are dying while monsters laugh. We waited too long, Admiral. We will not wait anymore." The Grand Armada launched 6 hours later. 50,000 ships, the largest fleet ever assembled in galactic history. They moved toward Coalition space with one goal: complete destruction of humanity. They did not know what was waiting for them. They did not know that the humans had stopped being afraid of monsters a long time ago. Because humans had learned the most important lesson of survival. Sometimes, to protect the innocent, you had to become the most dangerous thing in the universe. And humanity had become very dangerous indeed. The Grand Armada dropped out of faster-than-light travel at exactly the location the humans had predicted. 50,000 warships filled the void between stars, their dark hulls blocking out the light of distant suns. It was the largest military force the galaxy had ever seen. Supreme Commander stood on the bridge of his flagship, the World Eater. He was the most powerful alive, second only to the supreme leader himself. His scales were black as night, and his eyes burned with hunger. "Find the humans," he ordered. "They cannot hide from us forever." His tactical officers scanned space. What they found made them pause. "Commander," one of them said, "we are detecting human ships." "How many?" 2,000, Commander." Smiled, showing rows of razor-sharp teeth. 2,000 against 50,000. The mammals are brave but foolish. All ships attack formation. We will crush them and feast on their bones. The armada began to move. 50,000 ships arranged themselves into a massive sphere surrounding the human fleet from all directions. It was their favorite tactic: encircle the enemy, leave no escape, consume them all. Admiral Al watched from the coalition command ship, which had been moved to a safe distance. Ambassador stood beside him. Neither of them spoke. There was nothing to say. On the horizon, Captain Lisa Moore studied the tactical display. The sphere was closing around her fleet. Any other species would have been terrified. Moore simply nodded. "They took the bait," she said. Commander Jack stood at her side. "All ships are in position. The Nova Lance is armed and ready. Wait until they are fully committed. I want no survivors to escape." They moved closer. Their weapons were charged. Their soldiers were hungry. In minutes they would be close enough to attack. "Human Commander's voice came through the communication system. "You fought well against our scout fleet, but this is different. You face the full power of the Dominion. Surrender now and I will kill you quickly. Resist and I will personally eat your crew while you watch." Moore activated her own communicator. "Supreme Commander, I want you to know something. We gave your people a chance to surrender. We showed mercy when we did not have to. That was a mistake we will not make again." Brave words for someone about to die. "You misunderstand. I am not the one who is going to die today." Moore ended the communication. She looked at and nodded. "Deploy the Nova Lance." Deep within the human fleet, a single ship moved forward. It was small, barely larger than a shuttle, but it carried the most destructive weapon humanity had ever created. The ship stopped at the center of the human formation. A panel opened on its hull, revealing a device that looked almost simple: a metal sphere covered in glowing lines of energy. "Nova Lance activated," reported the weapons officer. "Singularity will form in 5 seconds. All human ships, emergency jump," Moore ordered. "Get clear now." The human fleet vanished. 2,000 ships disappeared in an instant, jumping to safety. They watched in confusion. "They are running," laughed. "The cowards are fleeing before our might." Then the Nova Lance fired. There was no sound in space, no explosion, no flash of light. There was simply a point in the center of the sphere where space itself began to bend. A hole opened in reality, pulling everything toward it. The ships closest to the singularity were the first to die. They crumpled like paper, compressed into nothing by gravitational forces beyond imagination. Ships that tried to flee found themselves moving backward, dragged toward the growing darkness. Screamed orders that no one could follow. His flagship shook and groaned as the gravity tried to tear it apart. Around him, thousands of ships were being pulled together, crushing against each other, forming a massive ball of twisted metal and dying crews. The singularity lasted exactly 3 seconds. Then it collapsed, leaving behind only silence and destruction. Where 50,000 warships had been, there was now only debris. Twisted hulls, frozen bodies, and the fragments of what had been the greatest military force in the galaxy. Admiral Al stared at his display. His hands were shaking. His 4 eyes could not process what he had just witnessed. "They are all gone," he whispered. 50,000 ships, gone in 3 seconds. Ambassador was crying again. But this time, her tears were not from relief. They were from something closer to terror. "What have we done?" she said. "What have we invited into the galaxy?" The The human fleet reappeared a safe distance away. Captain Moore surveyed the debris field with no expression on her face. Confirmed destruction of the Grand Armada, reported. No enemy ships survived. Time since human involvement in this conflict. Checked his display. 5 hours and 12 minutes. 5 hours. The war that had lasted 47 years had been ended in 5 hours. Moore activated a galaxy-wide broadcast. Every inhabited world, every ship, every station would hear her words. Attention all species. The Grand Armada has been destroyed. The threat to coalition space has been eliminated. Any forces who wish to surrender will be treated fairly. Any who continue to attack innocent worlds will face the same fate as their armada. She paused, letting her words sink in. Humanity did not want this war. We did not want to reveal ourselves. We wanted to live in peace while others handled their own conflicts. But we have one rule that we will never break. We protect the innocent. Attack the innocent and we will destroy you. There will be no second warning. The broadcast ended. Silence filled the bridge. 2 days later, the Dominion surrendered. They sent a message of complete capitulation. They would release all prisoners. They would stop all attacks. They would submit to whatever terms humanity demanded. The war was over. Admiral Al met with Captain Moore one final time before the human fleet departed. They stood on the observation deck of the horizon, looking out at the stars. The coalition wishes to offer humanity leadership of the Alliance, Al said. You have proven yourselves the most powerful species in the galaxy. It is only right that you lead us. Moore shook her head. We do not want to lead anyone, Admiral. We just want to go home. But you could rule the galaxy. With your power, no one could stop you. That is exactly why we will not do it. Moore turned to face him. Power without restraint is tyranny. We have learned that lesson many times throughout our history. We do not want to be rulers. We just want to be left alone. And if another threat emerges, another species like then call us. We will come. We will protect those who cannot protect themselves. But when the threat is gone, we will return home. Al was silent for a long moment. Then he did something he had never done before. He bowed to another species. Thank you, he said. On behalf of the 19 billion people you saved, on behalf of every species that would have consumed, thank you. Moore smiled softly. You are welcome, Admiral. Take care of your people. The human fleet departed the next morning. They jumped back to their own space, leaving behind a galaxy that would never be the same. On the surface of one of the saved worlds, a young alien child placed flowers at a newly built memorial. The monument was simple, just a stone pillar with words carved into it. To the sky warriors who came from beyond the stars, who asked for nothing and gave everything, who protected us when we could not protect ourselves. The child did not fully understand what had happened. She only knew that monsters had come to eat her family, and then other beings had come to stop them. Beings who looked strange and soft and small, but who had saved everyone. She looked up at the sky, wondering if the humans were watching, wondering if they knew how grateful she was. Far away, on the bridge of the horizon, Sergeant Kate Riley looked at a photograph. It showed alien children on a dozen different worlds, all placing flowers at memorials for the humans who had saved them. Was it worth it? Commander asked, standing beside her. Kate thought about the question. She thought about the lives they had taken, the weapon they had used, the fear they had caused. Then she thought about the children who were still alive because of what they had done. Yes, she said quietly, it was worth it. The horizon jumped to faster-than-light travel, carrying its crew home. Behind them, the galaxy began to heal. Worlds were rebuilt. Refugees returned home. The coalition grew stronger than ever before. And humanity returned to silence, watching the stars, waiting for the next time they would be needed. Because that was what humans did. They waited, they prepared, and when the innocent called for help, they answered. Every single time,